Hey folks, how's it going? Dr. Spin, eclectic album reviews and gentle music and meanderings. Welcome to my 2023 album preview series. These are all albums I'm going to be using to kind of frame my listening throughout the rest of the year. It's a really exciting time and I'm enjoying listening to all this music and I want to share it out with you. Many of these are very superficial listens. I haven't really delved into this music very much, but they're going to play a really big role in the months to come. So first one I got for you today is Nnamdi's Please Take a Seat. Nnamdi is an American-born musician, born to Nigerian immigrants, and very interesting character whose music I really have come to appreciate a lot. He's a really eclectic artist that's been able to merge kind of underground hip-hop and sort of maximalist psychedelia. It's almost as if like Kendrick Lamar and the Flaming Lips had a love child.
Wishing I was not so far away, yeah. We're flying way too high to hide the rain. I just wanna see another day, yeah. Don't wake me up, don't wake me up, don't shut me up.
And despite being so eclectic and so maximalist, it still seems to retain a real air of intimacy. You feel like you kind of get to know Nnamdi over the course of this album. And although the constant twists and turns that he takes stylistically can be disorienting, it still coheres together. It doesn't really feel chaotic. It's a pretty deep and rewarding listen that has some great songwriting on it and actually some pretty deep compositional aspect. Okay, next up I got Sault's AIIR. I don't know how you really want to pronounce that. It's like AIR, but with two I's in the middle, the way that it's written. Of course, last year, Sault confounded everybody by releasing the album AIR, which, in contrast to their ongoing project of kind of being socially conscious R&B, creators, they make this orchestral album. AIR 2 is an extension of that. It really veers into some Copeland-esque territory here, Aaron Copland, that is. And he's one of my favorite composers, and I think this AIR here kind of captures that pretty well. And of course, anytime Sault does anything, there's the ongoing question of what does it all mean? And as an extension of the AIR project, of course, it asks the same questions that have no answers. But on top of that, this is one of 5 albums that Sault released simultaneously at the end of last year. And if you're a person who was an early adopter of this album, you got it because there's this like secret password. You could go and find this website that had a secret password and you could unlock these 5 albums that came out. And that by itself, to release 5 albums at once, like completely blows my whole listening system because I like to take my time with all my music. And theoretically, I'd be listening to Sault for the next 5 years if I did it the way I normally do it. Okay, next up I got The Who, a quick one. This is a 1966 album from The Who. I believe their second studio album. To get this album, you got to realize this isn't The Who, the arena rock Who of the 70s. This is still The Who being a mod rock band and really laying the foundation for what rock and roll was going to become in the next 10 years.
Down your street you're crying is a well-known sound. Your street is very well known throughout your town. Your town is very famous for the little girl who's crying can't be heard all around the world.
And Keith Moon. Holy cow. Okay, on this album, Keith Moon is a standout performer. He emerged from The Who like as if from the head of Zeus, a top-notch, incredibly creative and fierce drummer, way ahead of his time. And even to the point where I think the recording couldn't handle what he was doing. The toms and the drums all sound really great. There's a couple of things in here where you can really hear where Neil Peart was pulling some of his early influences from. But the cymbals sound really slushy and weird, and he uses them so much that it's hard to ignore that, especially with MP3s. Of course, I listen to MP3s a lot these days, and cymbals sound kind of slushy anyway, so that's part of it as well. The Beatles get a lot of credit for kind of being the fountainhead of progressive rock. But here you got the Who doing a little mini opera that they were making in 1966. And that predates really what the Beatles were starting to do as far as that side of things goes, really contributing to what would become progressive rock by a few years. So I really think the Who is always underrated in this regard and really should get more credit than they do. And finally, I got The Samurai of Prog, Anthem to the Phoenix Star. Samurai of Prog is an ongoing project. It's been going on since 2009. Project's idea is to take contemporary progressive rock artists and pull them in little micro collaborations in a way that really pays tribute to classic progressive rock, but in a much more contemporary setting. Now, my usual preference when you talk about a progressive rock group is to have a group. So when you have these really collaborative albums, I personally think they're difficult to pull off because they can sound kind of scattered and unconnected, unless you have a really, really strong hand at the producer and the composer's wheel.
Eras that have already passed for centuries, waiting for the phoenix to rise again.
It has really, really fantastic standout moments, many of them instrumental. It veers into some very melodramatic vocal territory, and I'm always really touchy about that with progressive rock. I think I can count on one hand the number of really melodramatic progressive rock vocalists that have been able to sell it well, like Peter Gabriel or Fish or those guys. It veers that way a little bit, but I'll tell you, musically, there's some really fantastic playing going here. Great, great guitar playing and great guitar soloing. So for the prog rock purist who really likes that kind of thing, there's a lot to like here. But hearing people come in and just kind of do, here's the Genesis part, here's the Marillion part, here's the part where it sounds like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, here's the Rick Wakeman part where it just kind of fits together like a patchwork. That kind of rubs me the wrong way to a degree, okay? That's all I got for you guys this time around. Another question that came up recently was about how I do my listening week by week, because if you do the math the way that I outlined it in my summary of my tiers, how I do it, somehow I'm supposed to listen to like every album 7 times in a week, and there's like 12 a week. It's a lot. So it doesn't really work that way. First of all, seven times for each album is the ideal. I don't always hit that. And I certainly do 7 times in a week for all the music I listen to. I try to get to all the music 7 times before I hit it in elimination. And what I do try to make sure I do, I try to guarantee that every album gets at least 3 weeks in rotation. And usually within 3 weeks of rotation, I can probably get close to 7 listens in if it's something I'm really engaged in. And every week I have a kind of a rotating set where I've got a bunch of music that's either like this week's music, which is either eliminations or things like that. But I also have the 3 to 4 week pattern where new music goes in, because that way I have a chance to kind of really digest it and live with it for a while. And that way, whenever it comes time for its eliminations, its showdowns to happen, I'm already pretty familiar with it and have some comfort with it. So I hope that one clears that one up. And if you want to know when the next preview post is going to happen, please like and subscribe. Share this video out with your friends. Also, follow me over on Spotify. I'm putting up a list that has all this stuff on it. If you're following me over on the blog, I'm making the master list available on every one of these posts. So stay tuned for the next set of previews, and until I see you then, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.